Hello, my name is Mitch and I draw Blood Force. And today we're going to be wrapping up the Wildcats mini-series from 1992/93. And you may be wondering why I didn't just go at number 2. I considered it. But I honestly don't think there's enough here for me to talk about number 2 for more than like 8 minutes. I can do that, but I thought maybe we get through this so I can get on to the next little bit, which is a bit more interesting to me. So, Wildcats issue 1 was issued August of 1992. Wildcats issue 2 is October. We're not off to a great start, but bi-monthly is kind of as good as it gets at this time. You know, I'm kind of bearing the lead by not talking about the cover here. This is, it's one of the better hologram covers of the time. I wonder why they thought it was necessary. Because, it's Jim Lee. He's one of the top 3 biggest names in the business. And, he wasn't away that long. So it's a little surprising that they decided, unless they just thought, they wanted to go with something cool. I'm trying to think of what the other big guys did. Spawn didn't do anything special with the covers. The first big gimmick they had was when he hired all the writers. And Rob didn't do anything special with the covers on Youngblood. Yeah, I wonder why they decided to go in this direction. I mean, this is obviously Void's teleportation field, kind of. And like I said, it's an interesting effect. It's just a little weird. So we're going to open it up, and this is not the best to preserve copy, maybe. You can kind of see how yellowed it all is in here. Oh, well. And, of course, the usual cast and crew. Jim Lee, co-creator, co-writer, penciler. Brandon Choi, co-creator, co-writer. So we're going to get, as is tradition with Brandon Choi, a lot of words without a lot of meat to them. Scott Williams on inks, of course, so it's going to look amazing. And Joe Chiodo doing the coloring with Digital Chameleon doing the separations. So, and it's still not 100% where you want the coloring to be on this comic. It still feels kind of high-end Malibu. And it is still Malibu. So there's that. And Mike Heisler on the lettering. I don't know enough about that guy. And this is, we're going to start out with the beginning of, this is like the redux of the beginning of Wildcats number 1. Where they teleported in. Here, hang on, let me grab that. And it was just Void, and everybody else was dead. And then at the end of Wildcats number 1, the building blew up. So there we go. Yep, and that gives Jim a good excuse to reuse some art assets. Why not? But it was a neat idea, whereas, the first thing we saw was a bit glimpse of the future, just Void, so obviously whatever the mission was failed. But somehow they averted it. They don't really say how they averted it. That is one thing. There's no indication of what changed in the timeline. Then this is just how things could have gone. This was a potential future. I don't know. But this way we get a big splash page with the team here. Pretty good. That's not quite the cover, right? I mean, it's essentially the cover. Yeah, no, not quite. And IO shoots at them. They teleport away. And now, I mean, this is a lovely panel. Just big team shots. This is something to keep in mind for when I just want to get a big team shot with everybody talking, I guess. And this is the thing about Jim Lee is just Everything's good. Not too much of it is great until we get to the action. But it, there's nothing really to complain about. But it doesn't knock your socks off either a lot of the time. This is a Will's Portatio composition. It's interesting to see it here. I don't imagine. I mean, Jim and Wills worked together for years, so I imagine they just swapped ideas back and forth every once in a while. And every once in a while, Jim's like, yeah, I'm going to try that thing. And it turns out pretty good. And he's like, yeah, all right. And then he forgets to use it again. And we're going to get Wildcats shooting the shit. And given the backstory, these layouts bug me. How just, effortlessly, I don't know, plausible they are. And, there's nothing really going on here. It's just kind of vague shapes. I guess blinds. It's just lines in the ceiling. I mean, the coloring backs it up. Like this stuff here. That doesn't, there's nothing there. There's no recognizable forms there, or items, or anything like that. There's, it's just, I do lines, and they work. And I go, okay. Can you teach me how to do that? It's like, yeah, that's how you do it. I don't get it. Oh, well. And we're getting all the backstory about the Damonites and the Cherubim. We're going to find out that, what's his name? Dan Quayle is a current Damonite mole. And, a lot of words to just, I don't know. It's not particularly exciting stuff. It's backstory. I guess it doesn't have to be. Jim Lee is doing these nice vertical panels to keep it somewhat visually interesting. I started using these myself. I will say they do make the drawing process quicker too. I mean, look at it. Big close-up in here. This takes no time. No time at all. And we get a close-up here, and more backstory. This is giving you details about the Damonites and the Cherubim. This little designy element is interesting, and that's not something you see from Jim Lee too often. But it feels like he's just kind of pushing himself through this page. It's like, yeah, this is boring. It's just talking heads. So we're going to flip over to Hellspawn, who's your cool, devil-looking bad guy. And their plot to bring, I think it's the Damonite fleet to Earth. Oh, that's it. We're done talking about that. Yep. And they need this. Yeah, they just need to access the orbs. They're big on the orbs in this. And then they'll be able to complete their dastardly plan. And Wildcats are just going to do training stuff. Not very much of it, just a page. Just to show that Zealot can whip anybody if she wants to. Not particularly exciting drawings. Jim Lee doesn't look super inspired here. But then they get invaded by I.O. And this is a bit more fun, so yeah, now Jim's engaged. And we get a nice big, how much of this can you see? There we go, not bad. 2-page spread. And then you fuck that up by putting the Image Comics number 0 right in the middle of it. Ah, well. It's a nice shot, I think. Probably. And we get all this stuff we kind of didn't get from issue 1 here. Where we're getting nice, cool Gambit-looking shots of Grifter jumping and shooting. We got Voodoo turning into a werewolf. I mean, later it's revealed that it's a Damonite thing, but it doesn't look like Damonite here. It looks like werewolf. And then, they get stopped, and then, the thing comes to an end so that they can negotiate with I.O. You think they'd just be able to, get in touch. Like, it took Marlowe kneecapping a dude for them to just have a pleasant conversation. But you got to have action in your action comic, right? If you don't do that, is there any action? Not really. Not until you get to the very, very end. And we didn't really have anything in issue number 1 either. Like a little bit. Not a ton, though. So, yeah, that might have just been a contrived thing to, like, try and keep things interesting. And so that's the evil Damonite mole, and Wildcats and IO are working together now. And they track them fairly easily. Got a nice spread here. This is really all just setting up the next issue, though. You know, nice shots of Spartan, and you know, and we're gonna rip off Spartan's arm and show that he's an android. It doesn't matter. It's fine. And then tease the next issue. So yeah, not a ton happened in this one either. It's kind of more setting up issue 3. Because we all want to see Jim Lee draw Youngblood, right? That's what we're coming back for. And oh, there's some kind of plot with the gnome. And we get a Wetworks preview here, which is interesting because we're 2 years out from Wetworks number 1 actually dropping. So I guess this was, you know, Wil's preparing to get his own title, and then everything kind of goes to shit for him, unfortunately. It is interesting seeing a pre-94 computer coloring Wetworks. Doesn't look nearly as good. And see all these crazy fucking layouts that Will loves to do. And I mean, this isn't even a story. This is just, this guy stands here while vampires run at him. We don't know they're vampires, except they got the teeth. But maybe Wills is just taking artistic liberties. And he kills those guys. Oh, and then the team busts in. Great looking shot. Yeah, no, that it didn't tell us anything other than, you know, this book's probably going to look awesome, but we already knew that because it's Wills. Yeah, but like, you see what I mean? Like, that's, what, 10 minutes? And there wasn't really a whole lot to talk about in that. So let's just go to number 3 here. And this is the big fight. And this is not a great cover. Like, not a great cover composition. Yeah, I mean, you know, you see this, and I guess, and you go, holy shit, it's chaos. Maybe that, and I guess that's more what they're going for. So that's, I guess that's all right. And we got... not the strongest page 1 either, just big close-up on Maul's face, but that's because page 2 and 3 are the big double-page spread, where we see the aftermath of, like, the last 3 pages of issue 2, and because the Damonite mole is in the vice president, that means he gets to call Youngblood to back him up. And this shot is fantastic. And we're going to go from that to another double-page spread. So Jim Lee's kind of pulling out the stops here. This is what you've been waiting for. He's rewarding you for hanging around for, ooh, that's a while. The last one was, like first one was August, then October, then January. So 3 issues in 6 months. I guess like 5. But, yeah. But yeah, no, this is your reward, is you get Jim Lee actioning it up. And we get more splash pages. And, you know, this is the stuff Jim Lee knows how to make look awesome. You get gigantic figures taking up the frame. Big impacts. And, yeah, Spartan goes for the vice president. Chappell's like, I'm no Republican, but he's still the number 2 man. To get through him, you got to go through me. We're getting political. But, you know, you get the cool shot of Chapel blowing away Spartan, but not hitting him in the face, which is important. More, as Chapel incapacitating a couple of them. So you get the feeling like Youngblood just they're completely outclassing Wildcats here, which is interesting in the Wildcats book. But it was all a diversion so that Wildcats Team Black could enter through the sewers in a scene that is more than a little reminiscent of one of the pages from X-Men #1. Yeah, so I got that here. Yeah, just a bit. Apparently, Emp is Wolverine. But yeah, and I mean, this is just really Jim Lee reusing tricks, which is a Jim Lee thing. It's one of the things he does best, actually. Is just he's built up this. I don't know. It's like he optimized Action Comics, where he quickly identified optimal angles and optimal just methods of getting lines on the paper, and now he just uses those same 500 methods, but he doesn't expand it very much either. This high-tech room is great, though. And Hellspawn is still trying to access the orb so that he can open the gate and do the thing and then win. That's what he's trying to do. But, yeah, Wildcats show up on a kind of nothing page. And then Jim Lee he kind of re-engages. And it feels like this page he thought about for a little while before he executed it. Get some thinking outside the box. That's a weird choice. That particular panel there. The panel border there. Just putting a pink line around everything. It feels like it's maybe a mistake. Like it should have been one of these thick black borders. Okay. But yeah, we get our oddly shaped panels here to really, kind of jar us loose here, wake us up a bit. And and then the gnome he's pulling his own thing. That did not sound great at all. The gnome has a plot that he is pursuing, where he, oh my god, they're trying to steal the orb without anybody noticing while all this fracas goes on. And Maul is out of control. He's grown to the point where he can't shrink anymore because his brain is too small. So Voodoo has to switch him off. And Spartan's too fucked up to do anything. So, shrinks him down. Nice effect. And Wildcats are pretty much done at this point. And then Dan Quayle gets involved. And he's gonna eliminate what's left of them. And Youngblood's like, sir, no, you can't do that, sir. And Dan Quayle is gonna take exception. And now Youngblood's like, so now what? Yeah. And now Void is gonna, God damn, I keep calling her Void. Voodoo's gonna exercise the VP. This is, Emp and Void. I got the right Void this time. Confront Hellspawn. And apparently they're no match for him, really. I believe he's got the orb at this point. While Void and Grifter, they're just all Void. Okay? Get used to it. Zealot and Grifter go after this Coda woman, and Warblade goes after, I don't remember his name. Pike, I think is his name. And, I don't know, something about the quality here goes up a little bit. The backgrounds don't. You get these screen door backgrounds that Jim Lee pulls out when he feels like a panel isn't full enough, but I don't feel like drawing more things. And we got a great shot, close-up shot of Zealot here that I feel got reused fairly often. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? And Hellspawn sneaks up on her and Psylocks her somehow. And Daemonites win with a great splash page too at the end here. Coming this January. Wait a minute. This is January. All right. They're gonna release number 4 simultaneously? Hey, my copy did not come polybagged. Oh. All right. Now I have to find number 4. That took way longer than it should have. Considering I had this thing in my hands not 15 minutes ago. That took me like 10 minutes to find. Anyway, so we're on to issue number 4, which is March. So we get a slightly better gap this time. I guess the last one wasn't too bad. It was just 3 months. But, like, you know, come on, you're trying to launch a new venture. You got to stay monthly. And he does get there eventually. It does take him a while, though. But, like, issues 6 through, I'm not sure, I think it was 12, are all released monthly. And then he starts to lose the thread again. Okay, so we've got our conclusion here. Our resolution, if you will. Well timed. And like half of Wildcats is wiped out. Well, more than half, I guess. And the Daemonites have lost their mole, and Youngblood just don't really know what to do here. So we all can agree that this guy looks like the devil. So we should all just shoot him, I think. Cool shots, though. This is the kind of stuff that I really liked, was Jim Lee versions of each character. Doesn't do a great Badrock. Because he's thinking too, realistically. And Badrock doesn't make any kind of sense. There's a classic shot of Hellspawn. And, we're in the conclusion now. We're going to get all just action shots. It's all going to look great. And I like this stuff here with Hellspawn. This kind of reverse shading where you lighten up an area. Still figuring out how to do that, but it looks fantastic. And Hellspawn is on the verge of winning, but Marlowe has an ace up his sleeve. And turns out, Spartan is he's just about destroyed, but not quite. So we can reactivate him long enough to turn off the machine that is working off the orb and yada, yada, yada. And then everything starts exploding. That's a cool shot. That's kind of that's a pretty manga looking shot, actually, particularly with all the speed lines that are very, very tight. And we get our shot of Warblade that we can use in future advertising, because we basically set him against the green screen here. And Warblade quips while in his life or death struggle with the devil-looking bad guy. But doesn't quite win. Well, I mean, you can't kill him right there. But the Wildcats have basically won at this point. So Hellspawn is, his machine is broken, his invasion is over. So he's just going to go get the orb and see if he can kill the Wildcats here. And it turns out the orb is gone. That's another nice shot there. Jim Lee does this kind of foreshortening really effortlessly. Again, it all just seems, you never see a Jim Lee shot where it's like, oh, I kind of fucked up the perspective there. I don't know about that shading. Like all that kind of stuff. You just, it all just works. Early in his career, I'm sure. On the Alpha Flight stuff, on Punisher War Journal. But, like, by here, he's just, he completely knows what he's trying to do. And knows how to, which makes you wonder why he's not able to do it quicker. I mean, there is a lot of detail on each of these pages. But a lot of it is up to Scott Williams to complete. You know, considering how just, like this should take no time, and that eats up a big chunk of page here. This isn't any time. This isn't anything. All this stuff here doesn't take a ton of time. Maybe that does. These are classic Jim Lee poses. You gotta think he can just whip these off now. This is the lamest crossover. The Pit Cyberforce thing. Man. I mean, it's... Yeah. Maybe we'll do the same thing, where I run through the last 3 pages of the, or 3 issues of that too. It's just I've done a bit of Cyberforce recently. But, anyway, so now we get one last fight. The gnome has the orb, and that's apparently a bad thing. And, okay, here's one thing where... I don't know. I don't think this is a great choice because you get these equally sized panels, but it almost feels like candid shots. These feel like trading card shots, like trading card images, where nothing has any emphasis. Like here's a big shot of Maul hitting Slag, and it's almost off to the side here because Zealot and the Coda, this other Coda, are also going at it, while this guy. Attica, I'm remembering most of the names. Let's see if that continues. And Grifter and then Harm and Voodoo and it just everything's happening, but nothing has any emphasis. So maybe that's one thing we can point out that Jim Lee didn't think through enough, or maybe that was the effect he was going for, where it's just like everything is happening, and we've got very few actual lines of dialogue here, so you're just kind of supposed to go like blank, absorb it all, and then move on. And they try to confront the gnome, but this orb thing is too powerful, so Marlowe just kind of shoots his arm off. And he does the classic villain, he does the Gollum thing, really, where he's going to leap after it. And, Void is all messed up. She can't teleport them out. Youngblood managed to get away with the VP, who's a tiny little baby in Badrock's arms. I'm not sure if he ever got injured. It's just... he looks so frail and helpless. Can he not run? Like, I know these guys are all superheroes. And they get to do their superhero poses. Maybe that's the thing. It'd be a little silly if you had Dan Quayle in a running pose, like in a superhero running pose next to all these goofs. And, the reactor is going down. I don't remember this building looking that big from the outside, but I'll assume it did. And then, nice big explosion shot. There's a lot going on here, actually. Kind of. This stuff, yeah. You know what? Having drawn that Superman versus Doomsday thing now, this stuff is a bit of. I have to establish a horizon somewhere. I don't know that that's the best place. This explosion is fantastic. I got no problems with that. It looks like it was a castle or something almost. Was it like a refinery? Yeah, I think this is the only real shot of the exterior we've seen. And there's a bunch of big stuff in here. So, yeah, there's no problem with Doctor Who phone booths or anything. It is a very sinister-looking refinery. I'll give it that. And then we're sifting through the rubble. And all we find is what's left of Spartan, which is a pretty fucked up android. But Zealot and Emp, and I don't know why I started with Zealot. I finally forgot who Void was. That's why they were all able to teleport out. And now you've destroyed your big threat. You've established that there's these aliens that take over people. I think he tries to get away with it, though, at least in the immediate future. by the time he comes back to it, I mean, it's like 3 years on. I guess that's kind of a thing because you kind of like it's just like a long established element in the world. But yeah, so yeah, you got rid of your devil looking villain, who was probably, I mean, he's a bit better than some of the other villains we got coming up later. I'll say that. They're a little uninspired looking compared to him. And yeah, you've kind of wrapped up your conflict. I mean, it does give you a base to jump off from. You know, everything. Once you have, there are shapeshifty alien, exorcisty aliens on the planet, and we're fighting them as your base. And this is established in the minds of the readers, and it's kind of accepted. Okay, I get it. You can jump off of that at any point. And we get a quick preview of Tribe Number 1 by Larry Stroman and some guy with the last name Johnson. It's not The Rock. I checked. And yeah, one thing you'll never say about a Larry Stroman page is that it's boring. It may be confusing. Like, what the fuck am I even looking at sometimes? But like, you know, you want to get across that some dude's a villain? Yeah, okay. He shows up in an office. His flunky cracks a dude's neck. He burns out his eyes, and then yeah, has this effect on it. That I think you've established pretty effectively that guy's maybe up to no good. And man, Larry Stroman can just draw some like different looking people. I mean, if we're gonna be real, like, you know, different looking black people is kind of his specialty, which makes sense. But like, it's very refreshing. Yeah, no, these could all be different characters. Like this dude, I hope he recurred. If he recurred, it wasn't for very long. Tribe only went for 3 issues, but yeah, that's all you get for the preview. And this is cut directly from issue 1. But yeah, no, I love some Larry Stroman, man. That guy's awesome. And then we got Cybernary coming up, featured in Deathblow. Yeah, those are also things we're trying to expand. So that's going to wrap things up for the Wildcats miniseries. Pretty good, I would say. Still feels a little bit like wasted potential, given just how much, I don't know, star power was behind this thing. You think of what, like Savage Dragon issues 1 to 3 are pretty consistent and just high quality. Spawn kind of gets it's more of a slow build, and it seems more intentional. But eventually it gets rolling. And Youngblood is a mess, but no surprise there. This one, it's not a very in-depth story, which might have been a shame for Jim Lee. I know he wanted this to be kind of a really Manchurian Candidate, like sleeper cell, like just political thriller, but with superheroes and aliens and all that crap and holograms. And yeah, I mean, most of the stories in this one, they escape the Nada strip club, and they get their backstory. They get jumped by IO, so IO can shoot at them and then go, "Oh, sorry, just kidding. Here's where the bad guys are." So they go jump the bad guys. And then this one is Wildcats versus Youngblood, while the bad guys do their bad guy things, and this is Wildcats and Youngblood versus the bad guys. It's pretty classic comic book setup. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's like a good 7 out of 10 overall. Yeah, so we'll for me, after these issues is where things get a little interesting, because Jim Lee goes on his sabbatical not too long after, and comes back with like a brand new style and kind of a new direction. And meanwhile, other things have been going on in the Image universe. So that's that'll be interesting to catch up with, I think. So that's going to do it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, if you want to see more, please hit like, hit subscribe, and the notifications. Follow me on Twitter. The big one, go over to my Patreon and subscribe there, because I need more subscribers. We're still in single digits, and that's got to change. But yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.